they hate. And I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sunlight shining.
Well, good morning and welcome to episode 873 of the Lots Project Morning Show, where the coffee's strong, the opinions are stronger, and everything is always filter free. I'm Brian, your host, and it's February 2nd, 2026. This morning, I'm enjoying a fresh cup of light Colombian from foodforestfarms.com because life's too short for shitty coffee. At Food Forest Farms, your beans are roasted by real human hands using a clean stream air roaster. More than just a customer, your family. Get 10% off with code LOTS10. That's LOTS10, and shipping is always free. While you're there, check out C4 Club for even more awesome perks. Today we got another packed show. We've been 2 weeks off last week. I'll talk about that a little bit in just a minute, but we'll talk about prepping for the big old ice storm we got here that we're still dealing with, what actually happened when the ice hits, a look ahead at what's coming up still from the fallout from the ice storm, and a little bit more. So grab your coffee, smash that like button, and let's get started. Good morning. How we doing? Good morning, Rewilder Life. Thanks for popping in early and sticking around. And Mike's Homestead, thanks for stopping. How's stuff going on over by you? Did you get smacked by ice? Did you get snow? Did you get rain? What'd you get over in your neck of the woods? I know it varied greatly from east or west to east in Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee is super long and narrow, but even north to south, the gradient was unreal. There was like a narrow band of the worst of it, and we were here. Our county was smack in the middle of it. It was an interesting storm. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Grab a sip of coffee here. Man, that Food Forest Farms got me through this cold, because not only did we get a huge ice storm, we got a pretty decent cold snap to go along with it, especially for being in an RV and heating with our tiny little wood stove, not having electricity, so couldn't have any supplemental. I guess we could have, but we chose not to have any supplemental electric heat. So good morning, Pip. Thanks for popping in. Good morning, humans, and happy Monday to you. First things first, let's talk about Bitcoin and silver, I guess. Bitcoin took a big old dive. I think it was Saturday that followed the big silver crash. I guess we call it a crash on dip, pullback. I don't know, whatever you want to call for either one of those. Silver dropped about 27%, I think, on Friday, and then Bitcoin took a big old spiral down on Saturday. Bitcoin currently sitting at 77,693. Did the Bitcoin guessing game for last week and didn't have the show, and with everything transpiring in between, I think the closest guess was like 20,000 some off, and I'm not going to do the math and go through those this morning. So we'll just reboot that, and we'll do another guessing game starting after the show. I'll get the Telegram message put up, and if you want to guess in the Bitcoin guessing game and win 0 prizes other than just bragging rights, I guess, over in the Telegram group, you head on over there, and the message will be pinned. Yeah, hit that pin message and put your guess in for the price of Bitcoin next Monday, 1 week from now. That would be February 9th at about 6:05 a.m. So current price today, 77,829. Mike's Homestead says, snow then sleet Saturday, 32 and rain all day Sunday. So we ended up with about 3 inches of slush that froze and made a mess. I wish ours had turned into that. We were not as lucky on the 32 and rain on Sunday. So ours ended up being about an inch of ice. So we will see. We'll talk about that. So Bitcoin and silver, big course change, reverse in action. I guess Bitcoin's been pretty steady for quite a while, in that 90, high 80s, low 90s range. And then Saturday just took a sharp dive into the 70s. Reading a little bit about it, Pip says sell, sell, sell. Yeah, sell everything, sell everything. Bitcoin, I was looking into it a little bit over the weekend, what kind of went on, and I think it was just a mix of a whole lot of things. Institutional pressure, we got Bitcoin ETFs and things like that. The outflows on Bitcoin ETFs was pretty high right then, and then it spiraled. Trying to remember my notes. I didn't put the notes in with this. This is all about the ice storm, but there was a convergence of a few different factors revolving around the ETFs, around some shorts being called, there's some longs being called, and just the end of the month and all sorts of other things converging, and it's all a speculation really. So stop blabbing about that. And silver also, silver with the 27% decline on Friday. I'm not even going to speculate what caused that. But there, if you kind of go peek around and look at the price of physical metal right now, physical silver as compared to paper silver, that's a story for a different day. But it was a wild Friday, and it'll be interesting to see what happens today with the prices that kind of held steady over the weekend. Obviously, the paper market was closed, but the physical market and the price. Pip says price quote unquote correction. Yeah, it was corrected. All right. Corrected to what is yet to be seen. See, all those Epstein papers came out, and all the revelations in those too. That was some more stuff that probably isn't going to be on the list today to talk about. But anyway, let's get talking about what is on the list. That would be the storm. We're talking about 2 weeks here. So didn't have a show last week. We lost power on Sunday morning a week ago. So just a week and a day ago, right about now, we lost power. And come Monday, I didn't think it was appropriate that we were conserving power. We didn't know how long power was going to be out. And running an extra computer and firing up the internet to a higher strength and all of the stuff that comes with doing the show just didn't make sense since our power was out. And so I canceled the show. It was ass cold too in here, and it is what it is. So, but anyway, so I canceled the show, hunkered down for the week. Corey was able to work. We were able to make everything work and keep power up for her. We never really lost Starlink, so she was able to work all week, and I was kind of taking care of keeping the fire going and keeping the generator going. And well, I didn't really keep the generator going, but keeping the power situation correct and just basically going stir crazy in the cabin. But anyway, so we'll rewind back before that. So that was last Monday in the middle of the storm. But before that, we knew it was coming. So the last time I had an episode 2 weeks ago. Good morning, Canadian Farmstead. Thanks for popping in. Sorry, guys. I keep checking on the fire over there, making sure it's taken off. It's we didn't run it overnight last night for the first time in a while, and firing it up in the morning. Oh, it's a little chilly. So 2 weeks ago now, we knew the storm was coming. I think I talked about it on the last show. We didn't really know what we were going to get. And when we first got a forecast, first popped onto the 10-day forecast, the storm was calling for like 19 inches of snow, 20 inches of snow, which is a big old mess around here. It causes so much problems, and I wish we had gotten that. As the week went on, it kind of changed in the forecast. It dropped significantly in accumulation amounts from like 19 to 20 inches down to 2 to 3, 4, 5, and we kept watching, thinking they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They just don't know. Why are they trying to predict this? Go from 19 inches of snow to 2 inches of snow. Quickly, as looked more into it, they weren't talking about 19 inches of snow to 2 inches of snow. They were now forecasting that we were going to get just a shitload of ice, and that's even worse around here. So, in the rural counties in Tennessee, out here in Western Tennessee, especially, we don't get a whole lot of snow. We don't get a whole lot of ice, maybe once a year. From what I've experienced since I've been here, and from talking to other people, even more sporadic than it's been pretty consistent the last few years. But even before that, it was hit and miss. So they don't have the equipment, they don't have the capabilities, they don't have the routines or the workforce to handle winter storms, whether it be ice, snow, or anything. So once the snow is here, the roads kind of are what they are until it melts. Mother Nature is the Mother Nature kind of has to take care of it around here. I mean, they did do a little bit this year. I did see a grader go by in the midst of this about 4 or 5 days after they got around to it. And I know there's been a lot of private clearing of roads and things like that. Pip says, I told her it was 8 inches. After a few thrusts, they all add up. Yeah, a lot of good humor around the around weather forecasting and dating for sure. Um, I think my favorite news blooper of all time is the weather guy calling for a big storm, and then the next day the morning anchor lady was like, "Hey Bob, what happened to that 8 inches you promised me last night?" Boom, boom. Yeah. But anyway, forecast was all over the place. Corey and I knew we were in for something for sure. And being preppers, you know, you just go into evaluation mode, top off mode. Corey and I are set up in the camper here to boondock. We set up with solar. Our solar setup right at the moment isn't that great. We're under trees and in shade and things like that. But we have shore power here. And really, with our water, we fill our tank, we fill our freshwater tank and drain that, use that, and then refill it. We're really kind of set up for a storm. I wish we had more food storage. I wish we had a bigger fridge. I wish we had a bigger freezer. But as far as day-to-day functioning, we're really set up to do this. It was kind of the point was to go boondock. Canadian Farmstead wants to know if I got all my Rubbermaid totes filled with gas. That's actually on my list to talk about. So when we see a storm coming, it's more like, let's make sure everything's working. Is there anything special that we need to do? Are we low on anything? How long are we talking here? One big X factor here is firewood. You know, ended up being a whole nother winter here with the tiny wood stove. Sourcing wood is tough. In Tennessee, it's not like Minnesota where everybody knows what seasoned wood is. I kind of went through a whole fiasco last year with a cold snap. This year, I've been harvesting from the property, but I have a limited space here to store it, to process it, and to have it where we're actually located. And I don't want to bring piles and piles and piles and piles here just to move it again when we don't use it, and we end up moving to the cabin. So trying to estimate how long we were going to be kind of stuck here to bring enough firewood for that, looking at a super cold snap in the midst. So we just had a lot of top off stuff to do. Other than that, Pip says, what the fuck is seasoned wood? Like salt and pepper? Seasoned wood, for the uneducated and the southern dwellers, would be wood that is cut down, stacked or bucked down to smaller size, and then cut to size and split and stacked, and then sat to dry out, covered, partially covered in the wind, and usually one year to 2 years, it sits for 1 season or 2 seasons and dries out. So you can burn it effectively, and you're not just wasting energy drying wood in your wood stove. And another thing, my little tiny wood stove, if the wood is wet at all, it just doesn't, it can't handle it. The firebox is so small, it needs dry wood to heat up enough to cover the camper. So seasoned wood, dried wood. Here in Tennessee, the people think that if they can cut it down and split it up and stack it, that it's ready to burn. And maybe that works in a full size stove. I don't know. Maybe that's enough here. But yeah, no, doesn't work in my stove. So need seasoned, dried wood. So this year I've actually been doing pretty good finding deadfall at the property, basically dead trees, standing dead trees to cut down, or trees that fell that were likely dead or close to dead that hung up and haven't been sitting on the ground where it could absorb moisture and rot. That they've hung up there and kind of air dried and super dry and burn. It's been burning well. It's been burning well, but it is hit and miss. Some stuff is you don't really get to choose what species of wood when you're scavenging for wood like that. So you end up with some stuff that burns hot and fast, some burns hot and slow, some burns like shit, and some burns really well. Things like that. So Rewilder Life says then there's the whole question of cords, face cords, half cords, ricks, racks, and the other thing. Yeah, the terminology in firewood is nuts. So I've considered when we were out at the property and I get cleaning up trees and things, selling a little firewood and just dealing with the people and the different terminology just might not even make it worth it. Canadian Farmstead says you get less heat and more creosote in your chimney. Correct, if it's not seasoned right. Yeah, you want some Montreal, a little garlic, onion. Yeah. Pip says I have paracord, but I doubt that's in the realm of discussion. What are you using your paracord for? anyway, so Corey and I kind of figured out if we got the 19 inches of snow, we were thinking worst case scenario. We figured if we got 19 inches of snow or a few inches of ice or an inch of ice, I guess, that we would be stuck in the camper for like 2 weeks, 2-ish weeks. If at the end of 2 weeks we would have been able to figure out how to get out, how to get some firewood, maybe get some food, or really get down to our fuel rations and our food rations and start conserving if we can't get out. So we were kind of shooting for that 2-week mark. So we were needing to stock up on propane for our generator, wood for the wood stove, food, and water. Water, we have a spigot here. One thing that oh Pip wanted to throw his paracord into the cord, half cord, face cord discussion. Wow, sorry Pip, I missed that one. You must have had an extra cup of coffee before me. You're an hour ahead anyway. You've been awake an extra hour. So anyway, so prepping up water. We have a spigot here. We have buckets and everything. Corey and I were like, we lose water every time we lose power in the area. And if we were going to get a lot of ice, we're going to definitely lose power for some undetermined amount of time. So we wanted some fresh water on hand, some tap water. After the tap, we always filter it through a Berkey filter. So we weren't worried about the storage vessels. And with the cold water coming up, I didn't know if I really wanted to keep using our freshwater tank in the camper. We do have a skirting around. We do have underbelly cover, but we were looking at single digits overnight and 3 to 4 days in a row where we weren't going to come above freezing or barely come above freezing. And so, even though we were going to keep the inside of the camper warm, I didn't want our plumbing to freeze. The plumbing in the exterior walls, down in the underbelly, and the tank itself. Uh, and so I was kind of debating whether I wanted to fill it up and then drain it, and then drain it completely through the low point drains, or if we just wanted to run it and try to keep it full, and how to go with that. Weren't sure what we were going to do with that yet, but we did know we wanted to store some extra in case the water did go out. So we grabbed a bunch of 5-gallon buckets from the cabin, basically filled up a bunch of 5-gallon buckets, filled up our coolers, left that outside. We topped off all our fresh water inside, filtered a bunch of extra. Had probably, I think we had like 15 gallons of fresh water filtered, drinking water for us and the dogs, and cooking water and things like that. And then we had another like 80 gallons stored outside, which was going to freeze. And we knew that. And we had a plan for bringing that inside to let it thaw as we needed it. The cooler stayed thawed. That was a source of liquid as we were waiting for the buckets to thaw. That system worked okay. We did fill the underbelly tank of the camper a little bit, and used that until it was pretty much empty, and then we'd let it freeze. I didn't end up draining it completely through the low point drains. Basically, ran it out so it had air gaps or air bubbles in the lines, turned the pump off and left the spigots open. And that's been that way since that time. It still is that way. We haven't filled the water again because of an issue. when I went to, so yeah, we got our bucket stores. We got we filled the bottom tank a little bit. We got all our freshwater stores, and then I was going to bring a hose inside to keep it thawed. So when we started needing to fill up water again, we had a thawed hose. Went to unhook the hoses outside, and they just started cracking. I guess I had waited too long. I had been too cold. They had been in the sun too much. I'm not sure what the combination is. But we had 4 hoses outside that were strung together with some splitters and some fittings, and one went to our outside shower, one went to fill the camper, but 4 total hoses in the combinations. And as I was trying to unhook them to bring one in to keep it thawed out, 2 of them cracked of the 4, and then I got really, really careful with them and was able to get one inside, and then I have one still sitting outside that's probably frozen solid, but it's not cracked. So that is one of the reasons we haven't filled the water yet again. The temperatures are starting to come up, but I have to get to the hardware store to buy new hoses to replace that to fill the water. The water did go out with the power. We did end up losing power. But I haven't tried to use the water spigot yet, as we don't have hoses. So we do, but we're not in an emergency situation to have to use it yet. I'm supposed to be getting out today to head out to the property and hopefully pick up some hoses, and then we'll fill up that water tank and see if we had any damage, see if things are still frozen. I don't know. It was a new process this time. I don't know. We've tried a bunch of different things with our water here in the camper, and I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But anyway, water was good. I wish we had a better way of thawing it. I wish we had more room inside to store and keep liquid water. But this worked, I guess. The Berkey is super dirty at this point because we were using buckets and hoses and all that shit. And it just it needs to be cleaned. It worked. It filtered the water. The water was perfectly fine. But yeah, so that was water. Got that all set up. We also prepped for the storm. When it kind of came down to it, we realized it was going to be ice, and we didn't want to get frozen into the camper. If you ever looked at your car after an ice storm and it's just a sheet of ice and you can't get the doors open, uh, can't get the doors open and things like that. We didn't want that to happen to the outside of the camper, especially if we're going to be getting a half an inch to an inch of ice. So Corey came up with a great plan. I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but we ended up grabbing a roll of house wrap from the cabin build and brought that back and cut covers for the doors and used 3M Velcro strips and hooked it to the camper and then the house wrap. It worked great. We got it done. One worked great. We didn't really think about how we were going to put it on the door of the door that we were going in. We kind of settled for the fact that we could get it over one of the doors really good, and then we'll have access for that in and out. The other one, we're going to try to hook it and slide the door shut enough and then reach through and seal it. Didn't really work. It kind of blew around in the wind all night. I could hear it outside my bedroom. But it did. It kept the ice from building up over the door, and the door didn't get frozen in. And the one that we did seal really good, it worked fantastic. So that was a win. We didn't get frozen into the camper, and I think we probably would have if we hadn't covered everything. Looking at the truck and looking at the way the wind was blowing, I think we would have been a sheet of ice on the side of the camper with the doors. So big shout out to Corey for thinking about door covers and coming up with a plan for that and getting that out there and saved us trying to hack our way out when we were in the camper. Food we went and did our normal grocery shopping on Wednesday night. So forecast came out. It was like on Monday or Sunday. They started kind of hyping it up. We did our normal grocery shopping on Wednesday night, and Walmart was empty. Empty of food. It was a madhouse. There were a ton of people there. I shouldn't say a ton of people. It was slightly busier than a normal Wednesday night, but there was nothing there. The milk cases were absolutely empty. I put a video up after we got back that night. Basically, there were a couple of soy creamers in the whole milk dairy section. All the breakfast foods, eggs, bacon, sausage, all the breakfast meats were gone. All the bottled water was completely gone. There wasn't a bottle of water in the singles case or the cases. Hot dogs, bologna, cold cuts, all the chicken was gone. There was basically no chicken. I don't know. People were going to put it in the fridge, I guess, and hope they didn't lose power. Flour. I guess a lot of people were going to be baking bread. Bread was completely gone. I was surprised that the soup aisle was full. Not full, but it still had a bunch of stuff, and canned vegetables, canned meats were still there. Beef, plenty of beef. Had your selection of beef. I don't know. People were buying chicken and not beef. The sugar was all gone. Like the bulk sugar, pounds of sugar were absolutely gone. So I guess people were planning on baking during the while they were stuck at home. I was just, as Corey was, I just drive the cart basically. Corey has the list, and that's how our grocery shopping go. I just kind of drive the cart behind her. And I was just looking around and contemplating. Oh, soda was absolutely gone. And I was trying to think when I would see a specific item at Walmart and the shelf was empty, like completely empty, bought out, what people were planning on doing with those things. And some things make sense. Soup, like macaroni and cheese, raviolis, or whatever, things like that. Ready to eat meals. I guess the hot dogs and the cold cuts and all of that. But I'm like, who needs a bag of sugar? Like so says, sugar, pasta sauce, marshmallows here, in addition to what you mentioned, and zero produce. I guess, yeah, there were no potatoes. Corey needed potatoes for potato soup, potato sausage soup, and there were no potatoes. And then I went back again on Friday. I had to pick up was doing some last minute preps and grabbing some extra firewood, and swung through, did some laundry at the laundromat on Friday, and I went back and there were still no potatoes. So I don't know. Potatoes were a hot item for the preps this time. Canadian Farmstead says diabetes. They were planning on diabetes. Or I was wondering, maybe it was, can you do, Free Wilder Life says, got to make that Southern sweet tea. I didn't think of sweet tea. I was thinking, can you use sugar for diabetes management in emergencies? Or was that type 1 diabetes? What was, you always give them a candy, a hard candy. Mike's Homestead says, I wanted jalapenos for stuffed jalapenos. I was pissed. And it was probably wasn't people buying produce. It was probably the truck didn't show up, or they put all the sugar and soda, the sugar and soda and potato chips on the truck and forgot to put the produce. But anyway, Walmart was interesting, and especially that early, I was really surprised. And the bread and the milk thing, I just don't get. I really can't remember the last time I bought a gallon of milk. I can't remember the last time I bought a loaf of bread. We used to buy burger buns for a long time, and I mean, we don't anymore. So the obsession with the milk and the bread, I always find humorous. Since we don't buy that shit anyway, we don't really miss it when it's gone. But I was really surprised. Other customers, I heard them on the phone with people that were surprised at the empty shelves, and watching the local Facebook groups, which was gold over the storm, guys. It was watching these local Facebook groups was absolutely phenomenal. For the updated information, which is good. You kind of know what's going on all around the area, people reporting in, but B, watching the people complain, watching the people beg, watching the people help each other. It was just this whole big ball of all sorts of nonsense and good shit, I guess, too. But the local Facebook groups are great. But watching them, the grocery store situation didn't get any better. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Canadian Farmstead says you need lots of sugar for your French toast. Right, your milk, your bread, your eggs. You need sugar and syrup for your French toast. Rewilder Life says, if you've ever seen a Southerner drink sweet tea, holy sugar. Yeah, if you've ever seen them make it, that does make sense now. I didn't even think about sweet tea. That it really makes sense. But anyway, yeah, so we grocery shop Wednesday night. Thursday, Corey was off of work. We went and topped off our propane. We had 30-pound tank that had just emptied. Other than that, we were pretty much full already. Stood in line for 45 minutes at Tractor Supply for propane. Every place was just line the same about that, waiting an hour in line. If you got propane, you were lucky. Tractor Supply, the guy said that the truck had been there at 8 a.m, had filled their bulk tank, and he was going to run it dry. They would just be filling tanks constantly for about 4 hours, and then they'd be out. and then they were going to get another delivery later that afternoon. So this was Thursday. He said it had been going on since Tuesday. So constant line of propane filling from Tuesday through Saturday. Yeah. at multiple locations. This was the Tractor Supply in the bigger town close to me. All the pre-filled propane tanks were getting hit and empty. Couple different places with bulk tanks in a couple different towns, and basically putting notices on Facebook when they had propane, when they got it in, when they were empty. And watching that, I was just, they made a lot of money. a lot of money. So we bulked up on propane. We went into the storm with 3 30-pound tanks and 2 20-pound tanks. So was 130 pounds, 130 pounds of propane. Topped off our gasoline. So we had 10 gallons of gasoline. So this would have been to cover our generator running and our fridge and range, our stovetop. So basically nothing really for the camper other than the fridge and the stovetop, which doesn't consume a whole lot. So then basically 120 pounds of that was reserved for running the generator. And then an extra 10 pounds of gasoline. If we ran out of propane, I could put gasoline in the generator. And let's talk about that for a little bit. Propane in the generator is you can't beat it. I don't know. Natural gas, I guess. Natural gas, if it's plumbed directly to your house and you have a line, and you can hardline your generator, and you don't plan to take it anywhere, say it's a whole house generator or a big one that you're not going to be transporting, natural gas is probably better, I guess. But when you're talking portability, you're talking gasoline versus propane, I have to take propane any day of the week. Lose a little bit of power, lose a little bit of max capacity, max wattage on the generator. But between the cleanliness, the easy to store, the smell, it runs cleaner. Your maintenance on your generator is less. You're not dealing with gummed up carbs and shitty fuel. You're not dealing with storage of fuel and stabilizer and shit like that. You're not having to worry about ethanol free. You're not having to worry about water in your gas. All of that stuff. So we have never used gasoline in our Honda generator. When we bought it, our little Honda suitcase 2200, it just when we bought it, we had already made a decision we were going to be mainly on propane while we were traveling full time. We had to have propane for the camper, for, like I said, the refrigerator and the stovetop. And so since we were going to have it anyway, we were going to be able to run the generator off it. And so I bought a Hutch Mountain conversion kit, installed that, and never actually put gasoline in it. It still has the capability of running on gasoline. It's like brand new. The gas tank has never been used. But we've used the propane on it since we left, and absolutely love it. Absolutely, it's the way to go, in my opinion. Enough so that when we bought a bigger generator for our cabin and our cabin site and the build, definitely went tri-fuel, and have yet to put any gasoline in that. We've only used propane on that. I love it. Working in gas, working as a gas station, a gas pump, petroleum equipment technician, I see what gas does to shit. And I see how quickly gasoline can go sideways. I see how different the products can be that come out of the pump at a gas station. So your input is really variable on both the storage side and the usage side. Um, Propane is what it is. It's fucking gas. It's you're not. Yeah, enough of that. But anyway, we had plenty of propane for the generator. Just for reference, we lost power Sunday morning about 4 o'clock in the morning. We were out of power for 3.5 days, and we were running the suitcase generator, the little 2200. We don't have a whole lot of power usage here. Our average wattage use during this whole thing, we were using like 150 watts max, and that was with the Starlink, which is 60 to 80, and then some lights, a computer, and just various things like the composting toilet fan and things like that. We were sitting at about 150 watts, plus or minus. Plus, we have our solar array with the camper. The solar panels are completely covered still, so that wasn't an input, but we did have the batteries, and that was the big thing that really helped. So we were able to run the generator for a little while and charge up those batteries and replace the power we had lost or used, and then shut the generator off when the batteries were full. So we weren't having to run the generator constantly with that 300 amp hours of batteries. So basically we would run it for a few hours in the morning, use the power during the day, and then I would run it for a couple hours in the evening before the nighttime. And really we kept the Starlink on overnight because we wanted to be able to check the weather, be able to have comms. We don't have cell signal here, so having the Starlink on to use Wi-Fi calling and things like that is important. So we were willing to eat that power consumption overnight when we weren't using it. If we got to a situation where the power was going to be a long time, we probably would have done like a sleep schedule on the Starlink, maybe even during the day, kind of taking it down for an hour here, hour there, and conserve that energy. But really running it a few hours a day for 3.5 days, we used 120-pound propane tank. If it warms up a little bit, I could probably get some more. I could probably get a few rounds on the propane grill out of what's left in the tank. I don't think it's completely empty. It's close, but for 3.5 days of keeping power in the camper, I think a 20-pound tank was pretty good. So we had. Still in reserves, we had another 30, 60, 80 pounds. So another 4 times that. So we're looking at over 2 weeks without really conserving any energy. So I was really happy with that. The power side, that's nothing that we ever really worried about. Like I said, we built the camper to be off-grid, to be boondocking. To be able, like the first winter we were in this camper, we stayed in a watermelon field in Texas with no hookups. So we know how to go without power. So that was good. One thing that we would have done looking back before, we would have probably tried to cover our solar panels with some sort of cover that we could pull off after so that they weren't covered with snow and ice. Like I said, they're still covered now, and we just have to wait for them to melt off because it's just like frozen to the frame, and I don't want to crack the panels or anything like that. And we do have shore power back anyway at this point. So that was one thing we would have changed with the cabin build and being out there. We'll have ground mount solar panels. So getting sleet and snow and ice and things off them will be way easier to deal with on the ground than trying to climb up to the top. But so as far as preps, that's what we did. Like I said, we were shooting for about 2 weeks to be able to get out in about 2 weeks. The storm started on Saturday. It rained. It sleeted, I should say. We got a few inches of sleet And then it changed to rain. Excuse me. And it was under 30 degrees and it was raining. Like you went outside and it was like a spring shower, but as everything hit, it just froze in ice. And I think we ended up getting, I think I saw totals. It was really hard to tell with all the sleet we got and then the ice and the wind and everything. I think we got like 3/4 of an inch of ice to an inch, plus all the sleet and slush and everything. Trees down everywhere. The wind was blowing. It got colder after that. We, like I said, we lost power about 4 a.m. on Sunday. And it was bad. We went outside on Sunday morning and it was just like, it was like shotgun, people shooting shotguns in every direction. The limbs in the woods around us were just constantly cracking and falling. And as it would rain more, more would fall. Then the wind would kick up a little bit, and more would fall. We had several branches fall in our yard. Nothing on our camper, thankfully. A lot around the edges of the camper, and then our neighbor had some stuff fall in her driveway, and then our shared driveway. Lots of hangers, lots of branch hangers, like limbs that kind of fell, didn't have enough weight to actually fall, and then hung up in the tree at either touching the ground, hung up in the tree, falling and hung up. Lots of widowmakers out there now. Lots of complete trees falling down. Lots of power out. I think at one point this area had 300,000 people without power or some shit. It was unreal. Hardin County that we're staying in, one of the hardest hit in Tennessee from what I see. Mississippi was hit. We're right above Mississippi. We were right in that little swath of all ice. So that was pretty bad. But Corey and I hunkered down. We just kept the fire going, kept the batteries topped off, and hung out, and never really lost comms. Our Starlink held up great. We sat on Facebook and kind of watched the local groups and watched reports coming out. Lots of people. Immediately people were asking when the power was going to be back on, and we're talking like. They talked about this storm coming for a week. That likely you're going to lose power. If you looked outside and saw the ice and saw the trees falling, I think any logical person would have realized that the power is probably going to be out for a minute. But I think it was Sunday morning I started seeing people ask when the power was going to come back on and what are we going to do? And there was no going anywhere. Like you could barely walk outside. And when everything froze and when all the rain was done, I would say that we had 2 to 3 inches of solid ice. Not that fell, but between the sleet, like Mike's Homestead said, we got a couple inches of sleet, and then the rain came down on the sleet and it like encased it, and melted it all together. Monday got a little bit worse. The sun came out and it was kind of nice and everything kind of melted and then refroze. And then it got super cold for a few days and everything just hard froze. It was pretty easy for us. Being a prepper is boring. I was talking to Toolman Tim and he said, "How did it go? Or how's it going?" I haven't been out to the property yet. Haven't been able to get out there yet. That's a trip for today. So that'll be next week's show. I'll talk about how things went out there. Hopefully we're hoping that nothing collapsed. No trees fell on anything on any of our structures or Tim's structures. Yeah, we'll see. Not sure. Not sure what's going to go on. Mike Homestead said, as of Friday, one of my coworkers still had no power. Our neighbor just got power yesterday. We all got power back on Wednesday afternoon, except them. So they had a crew come out, and they turned ours off for about half an hour yesterday, got them all hooked up. So our immediate neighborhood is all power back, but there's plenty of people that I see posting still with no power um, in this area. And yeah, there's like 5, 6, 7 crews in this area from different power companies trying to get that put back together. Rewilder that says, what would you do different with, say, water? Because it's likely you'll be at your cabin when this happens again. Well, I'll have bulk water. One of the ways I'll have it insulated. I will have so I'll have the lines insulated. Most of the lines will be in the cabin. We'll have bulk rainwater storage in hopefully a 2,000 or 3,000 gallon tank. So we'll need quite a bit of cold for that to freeze, especially if I have aeration and circulation. And then I've been actually contemplating some sort of dump load for our solar, so that when our batteries are full and we still have sun, we have someplace for the power to go instead of just wasting it. And one of those systems I've thought about are some heaters, some preheaters for water, some solar water, or some battery bank, basically water battery banks. So I think that we'll be able to keep the majority of that tank unfrozen, keep it liquid, and then also we'll just have a bigger area inside, like a shower pan, to stack buckets and keep buckets of water available liquid instead of keeping them outside and having them frozen. The biggest thing that we ran into basically is our water stores. We didn't have enough room to store the water inside to keep it from freezing. So that was the enemy. I guess I could have heated up water and poured it over the ice to melt ice, but basically, yeah, have a little bit more extra room to store liquid water inside, and keeping um, pressurized water going, indoor plumbing, I guess, because we've been just running out of buckets and our little off-grid sink and things like that. So keeping pressurized water will be key, and then having liquid stores. So we were kind of stuck here. We didn't even try to get the vehicle out, try to get our truck out until Thursday. Corey and I ended up driving into town. Had kind of reports that the roads were getting better. Wanted to see what was open. Kind of went down into town. The gas station was open. The general store in town was open. The little cafe was open. Mexican restaurant was closed. But we saw that they were going to be opening on Friday. Seemed to, the inside of town seemed, getting out and seeing the limbs that were down, the lines that were still down. And we were only on kind of the main roads and primary offshoot roads. And hearing people talking about the back roads still being covered. It's bad. It was pretty bad storm for sure. And on the way to the gas station, we saw some folks that were trying to take care of a limb that had fallen across their driveway. Basically their side driveway that had access to some houses that were behind them. It looked like a shared driveway, and they were out there with a handsaw trying to cut this big ass tree that had fallen across their yard. And I told Corey, I said, hey, let's go to the gas station. On the way back, I'll stop and see if I can help them out a little bit. And so on the way back, I stopped and I was like, hey, you're just killing time, or do you need, is that blocking in? She's like, yeah, there's houses behind that can't get out. And so I was like, I'll help them. I'll buzz it up into, I said, do you want me to chunk that up into pieces that you can move with my chainsaw? And they're like, yeah, it sounded like they had a saw that wouldn't start, or I don't know what the deal was, but grab the saw out of the back of the truck, and man, like 10 minutes had this chunked up for them. They were hauling it off the driveway, and it just it made their life a lot easier. They would have been there for 2 or 3 days with the saw that they had, and the size of this tree. So that was nice. Felt good to help somebody, I guess. I did help the landowner kind of clear our driveway out. He brought a pole saw over. You can see on the bridge of my nose, if you're watching the video, got smoked by some ice coming out of the tree. It is what it is. It was melting. We needed to get things cleared. He and I both took a big ice chunk to the bridge of the nose, and we both had matching blood streaks coming down our nose. But we got some of the hangers pulled out of the way of the driveway so we could get in and out. And then Friday, trying to get back to normal, Corey and I went and got Mexican dinner. She had a couple margaritas, and we had some good food. It was nice to get out. It seemed like a lot of people were feeling that way. But really, through the whole thing, watching on the local Facebook groups, like I said, seeing the people helping each other was great. The fire department here, basically those guys lived at the fire station. They were cooking hot meals for people. They were offering a place to get warm. They were delivering meals. They were going and picking up people. They were delivering supplies to people that couldn't get out. And then so were just private citizens, folks asking, if you're stuck in your driveway, if post it and we'll try to cut you out. If your roads are blocked, let us know. We'll try to get out there and cut things away. And it was really it was nice to see the community coming together. And for a brief couple days, there was no bitching. There was no people were complaining that the power is out and stuff like that, but there was no bickering between sides, the mayor's side and the anti-mayor side, or the rivalries here in this small town. Everybody was just kind of helping each other. And then slowly after a couple days, it really started to turn back into that. But it was nice to see in the moment, people just fucking helped each other. And there was, it didn't seem like a whole lot of the infighting among the cliques in town. And I can't really describe it anything other than cliques, going back to high school. So that was good to see. The Red Cross showed up, on time as usual, 2 or 3 days after, and dropped off some meals, I guess, that they were distributing through the fire department. They called them in. I don't think that they came in voluntarily, but all of a sudden there was Red Cross meals available at the fire department. So I know there are people are still stuck in their places. I know people don't. A lot of people don't have power still. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but a significant number of people in our town and surrounding towns don't have power yet. It's still a mess. It's still a mess. My plans are today. I got to get out to Lex Homestead says I had a 26-inch diameter tree trunk fall across my driveway. Top was out in the woods, so only cut a 10 or 12-foot log out so far. We'll cut up for firewood when it warms up. Yeah, it seems to be kind of what's going on around here. I'm trying to make it out to the property today. During, like, right in the immediate aftermath, I kind of was, so I've been sitting there since the storm a week ago, wondering the condition of all our stuff. So basically wondering if anything collapsed, wondering if any trees fell on any of our structures or our solar panels or anything out there, how the road is, how the access is going to be, and everything down that line. I talked to Jamie, who lives at the end of the road, and asked him if you go for a walk, if you could send me some pictures. he said he made it to the top of the hill, the first hill, the first of a half a mile of ups and downs. And it was pure ice to the bottom of the hill, and there was already a tree across about halfway down the first hill. So he couldn't even make it back there, and that was a week ago now. I don't think I'm going to be able to walk back. I don't know. I fingers crossed I might be able to walk back there, but I'm going to take my drone and see if I can at least get visuals on if anything happened, the condition of the road, how many trees are going to have to cut out along the way, and start figuring out that process of getting back in there. If we were back there, we probably wouldn't even care. We probably would be pretty set and have room to be prepared properly to be stuck in there. And I think this is a good indicator that once we do get out there, that we're going to target probably, a month at least of fuel storage, of food storage, of we might not be able to get out. And I think within a month we'd be able to figure out how to get out of that road. So now it's to figure out how to get in and see what kind of shit happened back there. Fingers crossed that nothing happened to anything, or if anything, minimal damage. But really, over the past week, I've run through plenty of scenarios that were just catastrophic for both our project and or Tim's stuff that has already been built there. So I'm sure it'll provide plenty of lessons to be learned and adjustments to be made, or maybe we already did that and we got lucky, or I don't know. We'll find out. So hopefully today I get eyes of some sort, whether it be digital or in person, back on our stuff back there. But other than that, went pretty smooth for riding out in the camper, other than the cold temperatures inside. But man, we just hunkered down and rode it out. And maybe I should do some preparedness classes around in the area. So we will see. Man, if you want to keep up to date other than weekly, you can head to the Telegram chat at t.me/lotschat. That's t.me/lotschat. We talk about this stuff every day. What's going on? We joke around, have a good time. And you can request to join over on Telegram. Other than that, I will definitely keep you guys posted next week of what I find out at the property and a whole review of the whole situation. We had a lot to get into 2 weeks of storm prep and riding it out here in an hour show. So other than that, I'm going to wrap it up. I got a bunch of stuff to do today, and it's been a good show. So appreciate everybody hanging out and the comments. If you're listening after the fact, if you could definitely share it with somebody, or reach out on one of the socials and say hi, ask any questions, or let me know things that you want on upcoming episodes. Anyway, hope you have an awesome week. Hope if you had to ride out the storm, it went okay for you. And we will talk to you again next Monday.
Shining in with the moon gray, not the enemy's longest night.